What's up, my Shuggies? Ashley here, and in today's video, we are doing something a little bit different. I recently put a poll in my Instagram stories if you guys had any common design mistakes that you wanted me to help you fix, or examples of interior design questions that you wanted me to answer. So I've compiled a few different examples from your homes, as well as a few different examples for me to show you some common design mistakes and how to fix them. So if you are interested in seeing this video, then just keep watching. You guys, before we get into the video, I want to talk about my Dossier candle for this month. I am so excited. If you guys have been following me, I am new to the Dossier candle world and I'm absolutely in love with them. These are Love at First Match. I think it is such a cute concept and it comes with the same exact card as the perfume. This one is aromatic star anise and it has top notes of pepper, star anise, and is inspired by Dior's Sauvage. I love that scent, so I'm super excited to smell this. And you guys, look at how beautiful and luxe these candles look. I love how simple and classic the packaging is with just the simple white label on a beautiful thick glass. This is a 2-wick candle and it is a really good size, as you can see against my palm. And the smell on this, you guys, smells just like the scent. I cannot believe it. It is beautiful, it's strong, it's spicy, and I also love that on the label they have the top notes of everything, so in case you are wondering, you can reference them there. I also love that on the bottom it does have the name of it, and it is a soy coconut blend candle. So this is a really great gift, or if you're obsessed with candles like me, then this is a great item to have in your home so you can smell that beautiful smell while you're burning your favorite candle. I, of course, will leave all the information, as always, in the description box down below. And a big thanks to Dossier for sponsoring today's video. All right, you guys, so we're going to work through the first example. I'm going to put these up on the screen so you guys can have some good visual representation of exactly what I'm talking about, so I can talk you through this situation. If you have something similar, or if you are just curious, then that way you'll be able to see exactly what's going on here. So this picture was sent to me, and the question was how I personally would fix this wall that faces the kitchen. So I'm looking at this on my phone. You guys are looking at this on the screen. I'm seeing two walls separated by a doorway here. So the first wall closest to the stairs, I'm assuming this is the one that's facing the kitchen, and then the wall that all of the beautiful artwork is on and the plant, those are facing the eat-in kitchen or dining room, whatever you want to call that. So I will go through a couple of different examples for adjusting this situation. Example number one, you could take the plan out. You could move the top two pictures in the picture gallery and just leave it simple and plain. Leave the other wall blank, just have a couple of pictures on that wall, and we're gonna leave it super, super simple. Now, your next option is to put something on both walls. You could move the plant over to the first wall, put a little bench beside it, something to anchor it, one of those beautiful little simple oak benches. And then so you have the bench, you have the faux little plant or tree beside it, and then you could put maybe those two pictures that you have on top of that gallery wall that you're going to take down, and you could put those above it. So you have a nice little trio, a cluster, if you will. You have some depth of field, and then you have something anchoring that plant into place. And then on the opposing wall, again, just leaving those three pictures at eyesight height. That way you'll have something on both walls and it will feel like you have both of the rooms completed and taken care of. So those would be my two examples, a minimalist perspective or a maximalist perspective. And feel free to comment down below if you have any additional ideas on what she could do in this situation. Moving on to the next example. And this is a living room or a formal sitting area, I'm not sure which. And her question was, my biggest issue is finding a coffee table for this room. It has been 2 years and she still can't make a decision whether she wants oval or rectangular. And there is a rug, but her table is the biggest concern. So this, again, another beautiful setup, very nice and light and neutral, very inviting and warm. I love the shapes of everything going on here. And of course, that beautiful Anthropologie mirror. That is a classic. I love how it brings a lot of height to those gray walls and even the crown molding around the ceiling. So I think that looks beautiful. So her concern is the table. In my personal opinion, I think there is a lot of square going on in this room. You have the squared couch, the squared chairs, the squared, obviously, windows with the window treatments. And I personally like to balance out my shapes and perhaps do something round. I think that there are a lot of options as far as round tables, especially if you can get the nesting round tables, because those can be elongated for something more on the oval side. And then when you don't have guests, you can kind of nest them in together for a more rounded, small appearing look. But because it does look like it's a little bit of a longer space, that will kind of give you the best of both worlds so that you can have that round shape to balance out all of the squares. And then you can have the nesting, which will help when you have lots of people over. You can put food, hors d'oeuvres, and drinks on those tables. And then when you're done with them, you can push them back into place. Now, my second suggestion for this would be using something different, which would be 2 square end tables. I've seen a really, really beautiful set of them that actually comes in rectangular and in a square end table at American Signature, and they're in a beautiful marble finish. So although these are end tables, they're smaller, so you could utilize 2 of them, again, space them apart or put them closer together and have that beautiful flexible space where you still have somewhat of a coffee table in the middle, but it's not going to be full. And I love the finish of the beautiful neutral marble color because it's going to kind of bring everything together as far as the warm colors that you have going on in the living room. This is also something that could be done fairly inexpensive from somewhere like Target if you wanted to find something that was nice, light, and neutral, like those cubes that they also utilize as accent tables. You could put 2 of those together, put a little tray on top if you wanted a more affordable version of the marble end tables. All right, moving on to the next one, which is just a question. She asked, I love your home. What inspires you? Thank you for the beautiful, kind words. I think that as I get older, I am learning so much about this. And I feel like my answer now would probably be a lot different than it was back when I first started this channel. And I truly believe that my home is an inspiration to me for so many different reasons. One, my home is my safe haven. This is my place of rest. This is my place of privacy and where I truly can be myself. This is something that brings me serenity from the outside world and everything that we have to deal with on a daily basis. This is my place where I can come, I can be myself, I can be alone, I can be quiet, I can be loud, I can be whatever it is that I want to be, and that is okay. So your home truly is, I feel, a representation of you in all aspects. And with that being said, when it comes to design, as we are changing, our design also changes because we're changing as people. So I feel like my design style has changed over the years because I have changed. What I'm attracted to has changed. So right now, I'm really loving the minimalist look. Right now, having little amounts of things, having it being light and bright brings me peace and happiness. Therefore, that's what I'm attracted to. I also find that what inspires me is just searching for things online. So if I'm really feeling the nice, like I said, light, neutral, monochromatic, minimalist, then I search that and I see what pops up. And then I filter through and I see what speaks to me. I see what I'm attracted to. I save them. And then you know the algorithms of everything online. Once you save it, you see it more. And then you really just kind of over time cultivate what it is that you love. And then when you're shopping, that's what you look for. You're thinking, I want marble. I want a marble coffee table. I want a marble end table. I want marble accents. And then when you're shopping, that's what you're going to attract. That's what you're going to see. And then you can kind of buy them and put all those pieces together. I also think that something that inspires me is giving myself time to be in a creative mood. Because just like anything else in life, we don't always feel that inspiration. We don't always feel that moment. We don't always find what we're looking for when we're shopping. So you have to give yourself time and space to feel creative. And then I believe that when you give yourself that moment, then you're inspired. with everything that you see. I also think on a very black and white practical level, things that inspire me are definitely online. I love looking at Pinterest. I really love looking at model homes. I love looking at any sort of magazine that they mail to me or that they have available in store. Those are always the places that they're going to put their best foot forward as far as modeling and designing of items. So I feel like that's a really easy inspiration for you because everything is really articulately picked and put together so that it looks its best. So I hope that that answers your question, and I hope that that helps to explain to you guys. So if that's something you're thinking about, or there's something you want to be inspired by, to make sure that you're remembering that it all starts within us. All right, moving on to some common design mistakes and some great solutions. Again, visually for you, I'm going to put them up here. And the first is art placement. Now, art placement can be done several different ways, whether it is with a picture or with a TV. It's going to be anything where you have art on the wall, which oftentimes tends to be our TV above our console. So for this example, they have artwork above a small console, and they are saying to make sure the placement of it on the wall, which I think this is really important, is nice and low, close to the console. So of course you don't want it to be too low to where you can't see the space in between the two, but you don't want it to be too high because then there's too much space and it just looks off. So the average is about 6 to 8 inches above the console. Next, they have a piece of artwork above an accent stool or bench. I think this would work perfect in the example that we spoke about at the beginning of the video. So if you're going to put artwork, you want it to be centered, of course, and 57 to 60 inches from the floor. So again, making sure that you have space from the top of that bench or seat where your artwork starts. So you don't want it to be too low, and then you don't want it to be right below the crown molding at the top. And then the last example on this specific guide is for pictures above a couch. And I think having 2 smaller canvases is absolutely beautiful, but you do have to make sure that the placement of them is not too far apart and also not right on top of each other so that there's too much space on the outside of them either. So about 3 to 4 inches apart, and it fills 2/3 of the entire width of the couch or chairs that you have in place. Next up, we are talking all about curtains. Curtains are definitely something that are always a challenge, but they are so beautiful and can make a room look completely different if they are hung the right way. So this example talks about how to hang curtains in 3 different ways. So the first one is going to be making sure that the bottom of your curtains, I call them, dust the floor. You can do a nice puddle if you want to. I personally just like a little dust. I like them to touch just a tiny bit and drag just a hair when I'm opening and closing them. Now, this is personal preference. I do firmly suggest that they at least graze the ground. For me personally, I just don't think it looks right when they're not touching the ground. Just my personal opinion. Everyone has their own. Now, whether or not you want them to puddle, that's a whole nother story, but at least let them graze. I think that it just looks beautiful, luxe, high-end. You can take an IKEA curtain, you can take a Target curtain, a home goods curtain, or a custom curtain, but just make sure they're the appropriate length. So the next part of this is going to be the height. So when you are hanging them with the bar or whatever you're hanging them with, you want them to be above the actual cutout of the window. Now, unless it's a Roman curtain, we know Roman curtains are going to be placed on the actual interior of where the window is, but these are just hanging curtains. Hanging curtains, we want them to be tall, 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 because that's going to make the opulence of the room look bright, light, and open and luxurious. And of course, that's always what we want. We want it to be nice, light, bright, and open. We always want our space to look bigger if possible. And then last but certainly not least with this is going to make sure the fullness is there. Now, this is something I have learned over time that I think is really nice and just gives a little bit of an extra added touch. Like you probably wouldn't think at first is a big deal, but then when you do it, you realize, this looks so much better. And that is making sure the curtains are full. So grab that extra panel, try it, do 2 or 3 panels on each side, especially if you have a really big open space that you're filling, and see how good that looks. When you draw the curtains, it look nice, fluffy, and full. So if you're drawing your curtains closed and there's gaps in between, you don't have enough panels. go get some more panels and make sure that when those curtains are drawn, there's still some fluff there because it's really going to make a difference in how high-end the curtains look. Next up is rug placements, and I have had a ton of questions about this. This is definitely difficult to do if you have a really, really, really large couch like mine that's right under 200 inches. I believe it's about 175 inches long because we have a really wide open floor plan. But I do believe it is possible. I would say definitely get the biggest rug that you can. Now, if I could find a rug that would reach from end to end on my couch, of course, I would do it. I have not found that. My suggestion for that is what I did in my position, which was I found as big a rug as I could. I believe it's a 10 by 12. And then I also found a rug that I love, which was a Studio McGee rug at Target. And then I put that on top. So I layered the rugs, but just making sure that that bottom layer was as big as it possibly could be to make sure it was going to be balanced with the size of the couch. Now, this example that I'm going to show you above talks about rug sizes in the bedroom. This one in particular is showing you the difference of how it's going to look with a smaller rug and a king size bed, full size bed, and twin size bed. So if you have a king size bed and you have a 9 by 12 rug, it is going to take up essentially the entire room, and you're just going to have basically the bed on top with the nightstands. I personally love the 8 by 10 look. I think that that gives a little bit of space outside the rug for you to peek and see the floors that are in the room, but then also cover the majority of the bed with just about 1.5 to 2 feet on poking out on each side of the bed. I personally, that's my favorite. I think that looks aesthetically pleasing. I think that it looks proportionate, and that's my fave. Next, they give you the option to do a 3 by 5, which could be a little bit more affordable because the smaller rugs obviously are less expensive, and putting 2 of those on each of the sides of the bed instead of having the entire rug underneath the bed. And then moving down the picture, you can see that these are the same exact size options, but for a queen bed, full-size bed, and then a twin bed. Rugs are definitely something that can be very expensive, but I think this is great because it gives you an alternative and some good ways to see how they can fit into your design and your home in the best way possible. I also would love to suggest looking at places like HomeGoods, Marshalls, and TJ Maxx. They have really great deals on rugs. If you follow me on my Instagram, I recently found an amazing one this weekend that was like a 12 by 10, I believe, and it was $199. A little bit on the thinner side. I personally love that. The less structure, the better. It looks organic and natural. And for $199, you cannot beat that. I am going to try my best to find a place for it because I love it and I think it's super affordable. My other suggestion would definitely be to look at places like Amazon. You guys, if you follow me there, have seen my black and white stripe runner from my kitchen that was like under $40, and I absolutely love it. I also would like to state that the base layer rug that I have in my living room under my cloud couch tube is also from Amazon, and I believe it was around $250. So not bad at all for a rug that size. So definitely make sure you check out those places if you are looking for a more affordable rug. Next up, we are going to talk about coffee tables and placements. And this is great because this is also super relative to that other question I got about the coffee table. In this picture, it is depicting different sizes and shapes. So whether you have a standard sofa, a sofa with a chase, or a sectional, it's giving you a guide to show you exactly how it's going to look. I think this is super important because in my personal sofa layout, which is not on this, but if you look under sofa with a chase and then you add another chase on the other side, you see that it does have to be important what size of rectangular coffee table I would get, because if it's too big, then it's not going to fit. It's going to bump in between those two chases. So for me, I have a smaller rectangular coffee table, or you could get a round table, which would probably be a better fit. That's just an old one that I have, because that way you won't have to worry about it impeding on those two chases coming down. I also think that between oval and nesting, I would definitely choose nesting. I think that oval just tends to look a little bit more dated, and I think nesting is great because it is so functional in the fact that you can utilize it more open and have that open feel with lots of space for putting items, and then you can nest it back in. So you get a multifaceted look and multifaceted use with nesting over oval. I also want to note while we are on the subject, that if you are looking for where to place your coffee table, no matter what shape it is, the standard is 12 to 18 inches away from the couch. So that way when you're sitting, you have enough space between your knees and the table, so it's not too far, and then it's also not too close. So 12 to 18 inches is the standard there. Next up, we're talking about accessories and placement of accessories. I think this one really depicts the do's and don'ts. This is something I talk about all the time, but I think it's really important because it makes such a big difference. One thing that I learned that I use as a foundational guide for everything with placement of accessories and decor is odd numbers is almost always in your favor. There has been a couple of times where I think even just ends up looking better if you can, putting them in placements of 3 and then having that depth of field really makes a difference. This picture is nice because it talks about grouping objects of varying shapes, so you can have the same exact object in different shapes and sizes and height variations and group them together, and how beautiful that looks versus having 3 of the exact same size and shape. So this is a great visual representation of how different something can look when grouped correctly. And then in the last, I like that little guide using the letters M or U or W as a guide for your height variation. So if you're putting things in clusters of 3, being able to shape it in the letter M or W really helps you kind of utilize that rule so that the placement looks proportionate and correct. And last but not least, this next picture is going to depict a long hallway. I know a lot of you have asked questions about this in the past because a lot of the entryways are now long and narrow. So your question is, how do I decorate this? How do I make this look good? I don't want it to be too full and I don't want it to be too hollow. So this is really nice because it depicts that in several different ways of how you can group and place items decoratively. I also will add in a picture of one specifically that I love, that she broke it up into 2 different ways and 2 different placements on the wall. So in this picture, you can see that she has an entryway table on one side, and then further down that hallway on the right side to balance that out, there is a bench. I think this is a perfect way to depict a long hallway, how you can balance it out and look proportionate. So if you're going to do something on one wall, make sure you do something on the opposite wall further down. That way it's going to keep everything in balance. And then of course, I believe putting the runner just really seals the deal. It's kind of showing the eye where we're starting and where we're finishing, where the beginning of this area is and where the end of it is. And again, this is something you can do very affordable from somewhere like Wayfair, Overstock.com, or Amazon to find a really nice affordable runner that's going to complete the look of your space. All right, you guys, that is going to wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, I will leave all of the information linked in the description box down below. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that post notification bell so you guys can be notified every time I upload new videos. And feel free to leave in the comments down below any other videos like this that you guys want to see, questions or topics that you may have that you want me to cover, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.